Have you ever walked into a room and felt like no one noticed you were there? She stood in the corner, quiet, invisible. No one asked her how she was. No one waited for her to arrive. And when she left, not one soul turned to see her go. She was a woman with no friends. And I know what you're thinking. This is going to be one of those speeches about self-pity? No, no, no. This is not a story of pity. This is a story of power. Because this is not the story of what she lacked, but of who found her in the lack. So don't you dare stop listening now. Because if you've ever felt unseen, unloved, uninvited, if you've ever been the last one picked or never picked at all, this isn't just a speech. It's a divine interruption. She didn't ask for much. Just someone to say, you matter. But even in a crowd, she felt alone. Let me tell you, loneliness is not just the absence of people. It's the absence of connection. And when your heart is aching for a voice that never comes, that's when the enemy whispers, you are forgotten. But oh, she wasn't forgotten. She was set apart. She thought her isolation was punishment. But what she didn't know was that the silence was the sanctuary. When the world turned its back, God turned his face toward her. He whispered things in the dark she could never hear in the noise. He told her, you are not alone. You are mine. You see, heaven has always had a history with the overlooked. God doesn't look for the most popular. He looks for the most available. She was the woman nobody wanted to be seen with. But now, she walks with angels. She used to cry herself to sleep. But now, she sings songs of deliverance. She used to beg for friendship. Now, she hosts the presence of God. There's a reason he allowed the friendships to fall away. Because the lesser must fall before the greater can come. She is still soft, but no longer broken. She is still quiet, but now her silence is sacred. She is still alone, but never lonely. Because she has encountered the one who is closer than a brother. The one who never forgets a name, never misses a tear, never leaves a wound untouched. She's a woman with no friends, but a heart filled with heaven's favor. There is a kind of loneliness that no crowd can cure. It doesn't matter how many people are around you, family, co-workers, even those who say they love you. You can still feel like you are on an island, watching life pass through the window of your soul. It's a deep ache that words cannot describe. You could be laughing at dinner and crying on the drive home. You could post a smiling photo, then sit in silence, wondering if anyone really knows you at all. But let me tell you something that may shock your heart into hope. Loneliness is not always a punishment. Sometimes it's a sacred invitation. Sometimes it's not evidence that you are unwanted by the world, but a sign that heaven has marked you for something greater. Loneliness for some is the doorway to divine intimacy. God has always been known to separate before he elevates. We think of isolation as rejection. We equate being alone with being unloved. But what if God isn't punishing you? What if he's protecting you? What if he's clearing the room, removing the noise, silencing the chatter, because he has something to say to you that no one else is allowed to hear? You see, God doesn't waste pain. He doesn't play games with hearts. If he has allowed you to be in a place where you feel alone, it is not to break you, it is to build you. There are lessons learned in the quiet places that cannot be taught in the crowd. There are treasures hidden in the shadows that are too precious to be displayed in the daylight of popularity. The secret things of God are often given in lonely places. Look through scripture and you will find this truth written in the lives of those we call heroes of faith. Moses spent 40 years in the desert before the bush ever caught fire. Elijah found God not in the wind or the earthquake, but in a whisper, alone in a cave. John the Baptist cried out in the wilderness long before anyone came to hear. And Jesus himself, or the Son of God, often withdrew alone to be with the Father. His ministry was birthed not on a platform but in a desert, with no crowd, no cheer, no human comfort. Why? Because God speaks in stillness. When there are no friends around you, when the phone doesn't ring, when the text never comes, it hurts. Of course it does. We were made for relationship. But there's another side to that ache, a holy side. It is in those moments that your soul is most open, most tender, most ready to receive something it might not otherwise hear. Some of the most anointed, spirit-filled people you will ever meet have walked through long seasons of isolation. They know what it means to sit in silence and cry out for God to answer. They know what it means to be misunderstood, misjudged, even forgotten. And yet in that very place of sorrow, God met them. He whispered identity into their brokenness. He called them by name when no one else did. He revealed his heart to them because there were no other voices to drown him out. Don't despise your season of loneliness. Don't rush to escape it. Don't try to fill it with shallow conversations and temporary distractions. Sit with it. Listen through it. Press in, because the one who allowed it is also the one who redeems it. He does not leave his daughters empty. He fills them with himself. And there is no greater friend, no sweeter companion, no more faithful presence than his. It's in the lonely places that character is shaped. It's in the silence that faith matures. It's when no one else affirms you that you finally learn to believe what he says about you. You don't need 10 people to approve what God has already anointed. You don't need to be surrounded by friends to walk in power. Some of the most powerful women to ever walk this earth walked alone for a time because God had to take them away from the crowd to teach them how to walk with him. So if you're reading this and you feel like the woman with no friends, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not cursed. You are not forgotten. You are being called. This isn't the end of your story. This is the beginning of something sacred. You are being drawn closer, being set apart, being prepared. When God gets ready to use someone deeply, he often hides them first. You are hidden, yes, but not from love, not from destiny. You are hidden for something holy. One day you will look back and thank God for this very season. You will say, I wouldn't wish the loneliness on anyone, but I wouldn't trade what I gained from it for the world, because you'll know him better. You'll trust him more. You'll walk with a quiet confidence that can't be shaken, because it was forged in the fire of being alone with him. And in that moment you'll understand, your loneliness wasn't a punishment. It was your divine appointment. There are seasons in life when you will look around and realize that no one is walking with you. The people who once stood by you have drifted away. The laughter that once filled your phone now echoes with silence. Friends you celebrated, supported, and sacrificed for seem to have forgotten you. You ask yourself, what did I do wrong? And sometimes there's no answer. The loss is quiet, but deep. And in the silence, another question begins to rise. Does this mean I'm not valuable? Am I still called? Do I even matter anymore? But listen carefully. Just because people have walked away does not mean your purpose has walked away with them. Just because the crowd has gone silent doesn't mean heaven has. You may not be surrounded by friends, but you are still surrounded by divine destiny. Your value is not diminished by the absence of companionship. It is affirmed by the one who chose you before anyone knew your name. The truth is, your calling is not dependent on your connections. God does not call you according to how many people like you, follow you, or applaud your every step. Heaven's anointing does not ride on popularity. In fact, some of the most powerful assignments come to those who walk alone. Not because they are unworthy of companionship, but because their calling is too weighty to be built on shallow approval. You may feel invisible right now, like no one sees the effort you put in, the love you give, the quiet battles you fight, but God sees, he knows. And he's not waiting for others to notice you before he uses you. He's not waiting for you to gain a following before he speaks through you. He's not holding your purpose hostage to someone else's recognition. His plan for your life was written long before your social circle ever formed. And it will still stand even if every earthly support falls away. When you walk without friends, the enemy will try to whisper lies to you. He'll say you're not needed, that you've been forgotten, that your life no longer holds meaning. He'll try to convince you that if you were truly chosen, you'd be surrounded by people. But those are lies, spoken by the one who fears what you'll become once you realize that your calling is not up for debate. You don't need human applause to fulfill a God-given assignment. Applause is fleeting. Approval shifts with seasons. But purpose, true purpose, is eternal. It burns even when no one fans the flame. It whispers even when no one else speaks. It pulls you forward even when every door seems closed. Purpose is what wakes you up in the morning, what keeps you going through the tears, what reminds you that your life still matters, even if no one says it out loud. Look through history, both biblical and modern, and you will find that most people who made a lasting impact had a season where they walked alone. Joseph had dreams but was thrown into a pit by his own brothers. David was anointed as king but then hunted like a criminal. Esther stood alone before the throne to save her people. Paul was abandoned and misunderstood. Jesus, the Son of God, was deserted by his closest friends in his hour of great, and yet none of their callings were cancelled by the absence of companionship. In fact, it was in those very moments, when no one else stood beside them, that their true purpose was revealed. So what if no one claps for you right now? So what if your name isn't celebrated, if your phone is silent, if your circle has grown small? That doesn't mean you've missed it. That doesn't mean you're less than. It means you're in a refining season. It means God is building something in you that can't be built in the noise of approval. It means He's grounding your identity not in affirmation, but in truth. You are still chosen, still called, still useful, still anointed. And you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to beg to be seen. You don't have to perform to be loved. The one who formed you in the secret place still holds your purpose firmly in His hands. He doesn't misplace destinies. He doesn't forget promises. He doesn't need a crowd to confirm His will. So walk boldly even if you walk alone. Speak truth even if no one echoes it. Love deeply even if no one returns it. Serve faithfully even when no one thanks you. Stay the course even if no one is clapping from the sidelines. Your life is not a performance for applause. It is a journey of obedience. Heaven's eyes are on you, and heaven's purpose in you has not diminished one bit. Let others come or go. Let the applause rise or fall. You are not called by people, and you will not be sustained by them. You are here for such a time as this. Your purpose is not postponed. Your anointing is not delayed. Your assignment is not invalidated. Even in the absence of friends, your calling remains. Heaven still says yes. There is a deep, quiet pain in being overlooked. It's not always loud. It doesn't always come with confrontation. Sometimes it's as subtle as not being invited, not being called, not being chosen. It's in the way conversations pass you by, in the way others are celebrated while you stand in the background. You learn to smile even when it stings. You learn to clap for others while wondering if anyone will ever clap for you. And slowly, without even realizing it, you start to believe the lie that your invisibility is the same as insignificance. But let me tell you a truth that runs deeper than that lie. God never overlooks what man forgets. His eyes are never distracted. His heart is never indifferent. And while the world may pass by without noticing your tears, your labor, your faithfulness, heaven sees it all. Not one moment of surrender, not one act of obedience, not one whispered prayer has gone unnoticed. God has always been in the business of finding the forgotten. He has always been drawn to the ones the world disregards. While people chase after charisma, status, appearance, and influence, God looks for the heart that is surrendered. He looks for the woman who stayed even when no one thanked her, the woman who served quietly while others took the spotlight, the woman who gave her all and asked for nothing in return. You may feel invisible in a world that constantly shouts for attention, but to God, you are unmistakably seen. You may not be the loudest voice in the room, but your silence speaks volumes in heaven. You may not be wearing a crown, but God has already measured your head for one. Because in the kingdom, it is not the most popular who are lifted, it is the most faithful. Think of the people God used throughout Scripture. Over and over again, He chose the unlikely, the overlooked, the rejected. He passed over the strong to choose the weak. He passed over the loud to anoint the humble. He passed over the qualified to empower the surrendered. David was left in the fields when the prophet came to anoint a king. His own father didn't even call him to the lineup, but heaven had already marked him. Esther was an orphan, a nobody in the palace, yet God crowned her with influence that saved a nation. Mary was a young, unknown girl in a small village, but God chose her to carry his son. This is God's pattern. He finds the one that others dismiss, and he wraps her in purpose so undeniable, no man can take credit for it. He places power in hands that never reached for it, and he pours anointing into hearts that never demanded it. And when he does, no amount of earthly rejection can stop what heaven has ordained. So if you feel overlooked, good. That means you're in the perfect position for a divine encounter. If you feel rejected, better still. That means you're no longer tangled in the web of seeking man's approval. You are in the secret place, the hidden place, the place where heaven meets earth. This is where God trains his warriors. This is where he shapes the ones who will carry his glory. Do not envy the ones who are seen before their time. Visibility without maturity can crush a soul, but the one who is hidden, she is being protected, refined, strengthened. She is being prepared for something that doesn't need an audience to be real. She is being given roots that run deep, so when the fruit begins to show, she won't be shaken by the wind of man's opinions. Let the world forget your name. Heaven remembers it. Let people walk past you. God walks with you. Let others be celebrated. Your celebration is being written into the eternal story. And when the time is right, when the preparation is complete, when the oil has been pressed and poured, God will lift you. Not because you demanded it, not because you fought for a platform, but because you were faithful in the field, in the shadows, in the silence. He will take the one everyone else thought was too quiet, too simple, too broken, and he will raise her with strength they never saw coming, because what they missed, God remembered. What they overlooked, God had his eyes on all along. You don't have to strive for significance. You don't have to chase after validation. You don't have to wear a mask to be accepted. All you need to do is keep showing up, keep being faithful, keep walking with God when no one's watching, because he is the one who lifts. He is the one who crowns. And when God decides to crown a woman with purpose and power, no one can unseat her. You are not forgotten. You are not unworthy. You are simply in the process of being formed for glory. Let the rejection refine you, not define you. Let the silence build strength in your soul, and let your heart rest in this unshakable truth. There comes a time in every woman's journey when God leads her into a season where she has no one to lean on but him. It is not punishment. It is not abandonment. It is not rejection from heaven. It is a holy stripping, a divine undoing. The familiar comforts begin to fade. The voices that once guided you grow silent. The hands you used to reach for are no longer there. And in that hollow space where connection used to live, God invites you closer, not to punish, but to pull you nearer than ever before. Loneliness is a language heaven often uses to draw us into intimacy. We don't like it, we resist it. We cry out, asking God to send people, to bring community, to end the silence. But sometimes, instead of changing the outer circumstances, God whispers, "This is where I want you." Not in a crowd, not with many voices, just you and him, with nothing between you, no noise, no clutter, no dependency on the approval or presence of others. Just your soul stripped bare, leaning into the sound of his heartbeat. We are a people addicted to distractions. We run to relationships, to activity, to noise, anything that keeps us from sitting still in our own skin. We use others as mirrors to tell us who we are, but sometimes God, in his mercy, removes those mirrors so that we will finally turn our eyes to him and ask, "What do you say about me?" That is the gift of loneliness. It doesn't feel like a gift at first. It feels like loss. It feels like isolation. But slowly, as the fog lifts, you begin to see what was always there. The presence of God, constant and unshaken, waiting for you to notice him in the quiet. When the distractions are gone, the voice of God becomes unmistakably clear. When every crutch is gone, you learn how to stand in the strength that only he can provide. You begin to realize that the silence is not empty, it is sacred. Sometimes, we treat loneliness like an emergency, something to be fixed as quickly as possible. But there are moments when loneliness is not a crisis. It's a classroom. It's where God teaches you the sound of his voice without interference. It's where he shows you that your worth is not dependent on who walks with you, but on who formed you. It's where he reveals secrets of the kingdom that only come in the stillness. There are treasures hidden in solitude. You find out who you are when no one else is around to tell you. You find out what you believe when no one is there to reinforce it. You discover the depth of your faith, the foundation of your identity, and the intimacy of your relationship with God, not in the spotlight, but in the shadow of aloneness. It's in the lonely place that the superficial falls away. You stop pretending, you stop performing, there's no one to impress. Just you, laid bare before the one who sees it all and loves you still. And in that sacred space, something powerful begins to happen. You start to hear his heartbeat. Not just his words, not just his instructions, but the rhythm of his heart for you. Steady, unwavering, deeply personal. You begin to realize that his love is not dependent on your productivity. His nearness is not based on your popularity. He's not with you because others are. He's with you because he chose you, because he delights in you, because he wants to be known by you, not through someone else's voice, but through your own encounter. The world teaches us to run from solitude, but the Spirit sometimes leads us into it, not to leave us there forever, but to do a work in us that could not be done anywhere else. And once the work is complete, once the heart has been tuned to the frequency of heaven, he will bring you out, not empty, but full, not desperate, but strengthened, not wounded, but whole. Don't fight the stripping. Don't resist the silence. Let it do its holy work. Let it cut away what is false. Let it quiet what is loud. Let it empty your hands so that they are free to receive what only God can place in them. It's not the end of your story. It's the beginning of a deeper one. And when you emerge, you will not come out the same. You will walk differently, speak differently, love differently. Because when your ear has been pressed to the heartbeat of God, it changes everything. You begin to discern what matters. You carry a stillness that calms storms. You bring a presence that doesn't need to shout. You've been with him, and it shows. So if you are in that place right now, if the friends have faded, if the noise has died down, if the silence is louder than your thoughts, don't panic. Don't rush to fill the space. Sit in it. Lean in. Ask God what he's saying. Let your soul rest against his chest and hear the steady thump of his unfailing love for you. Because sometimes in order to get that close, he has to remove everything else. Not because he's cruel, but because he knows that the greatest gift he can give you is himself. And when all else is gone and only he remains, you will find that he is more than enough. There's a unique kind of ache that comes from being left out, misunderstood, or simply not chosen. When you sit alone and wonder why connections don't stick, why friendships fade, or why doors close for others to enter your life, it can begin to whisper lies into your identity. You begin to question your worth. You ask yourself if there's something wrong with you, and the silence, where you hoped laughter or companionship would be, starts to feel like a confirmation that maybe you don't belong. But what if that silence is not a punishment? What if your solitude is not rejection but protection? What if being alone isn't a sign of being unworthy, but of being set apart? There are callings that are too weighty to be carried in crowded rooms. There are assignments that require an undistracted heart, a sharp ear, and a spirit untangled from the expectations of others. Sometimes God will not allow just anyone to walk closely with you, not because you are less, but because what he has placed inside you is more. Not in pride, not in superiority, but in sacred responsibility. You may look at others who are surrounded, celebrated, and constantly accompanied and feel like you've been left behind, but heaven sees it differently. While you're watching others gather, God is watching you grow. While you're noticing the absence of company, he's perfecting your character, deepening your discernment, and stretching your capacity to carry things others were never built to bear. God has a history of setting people apart before he sends them out. He took Moses into the wilderness before commissioning him to lead a nation. He separated Joseph through betrayal and imprisonment before positioning him to preserve nations. He set aside Mary, young, unnoticed, uncelebrated, before choosing her to carry the Messiah. These were not people overlooked by God. They were chosen to walk a narrow path, one that didn't allow for casual companionship or crowd validation. When you're set apart, your journey will not look like everyone else's. Your relationships may not form easily, your steps may be misunderstood, your heart may be misread, and yet this is the refining place where depth is born. In the absence of human comfort, you develop divine clarity. In the silence of friendship, you grow sensitive to God's whisper. In the stillness, you begin to see with spiritual eyes and hear with spiritual ears. The world teaches us that validation comes through numbers, that your value increases with visibility, that friendship is proof of favor. But the kingdom operates differently. In the kingdom, isolation is often preparation, hiddenness is often protection, and solitude is often where the Spirit does his deepest work. Being without friends doesn't mean you're deficient. It may mean you're being distilled. God is stripping away what is unnecessary so you can carry what is sacred. He's removing the voices that would cloud your judgment so you can hear him clearly. He's preventing the wrong attachments so you won't be delayed by the wrong alignments. Some people can't walk with you, not because they're bad, but because they're not built for the weight you carry. Some friendships would dilute the purity of your purpose. Some connections would distract you from the pace and path God has called you to. So instead of giving you what you think you need, God gives you what you truly need: space to become. This doesn't mean you always walk alone. This doesn't mean that relationships aren't beautiful or important. But in certain seasons, God will intentionally limit who walks closely with you, not to punish you, but to preserve what he's building in you. You are being prepared, not for popularity, but for purpose. And some purposes require a soul that knows how to walk with God, even when no one else walks with you. It's hard, it's not always comforting, but there is a holy strength that rises in a woman who has learned to be alone and still remain whole. There is a fire that forms in the heart of one who has walked through the wilderness with no one but God and come out burning with unshakable identity. You are not behind, you are not broken, you are not less than others, you are set apart. That ache you feel, that space in your heart, that longing for friendship, God sees it all. And in his time, in his way, he will fill it with what aligns with your purpose, not just your preference. But until then, let him do what he needs to do in you. Let him shape you. Let him ground you. Let him show you that your value was never tied to how many people surrounded you, but by who formed you, called you, and continues to walk with you. You are still whole, still called, still valuable. Friendships may fade, circles may shift, but your assignment stands, your identity stands, and the one who set you apart has not changed his mind about you. Being a woman with no friends does not mean you're lacking. It means God is still writing your story, and some chapters require silence so the next ones can carry power. Keep walking, keep listening, keep trusting. You are not alone. You are simply being set apart for something others cannot carry. There are moments in a woman's life when she looks around and sees no one standing beside her. She feels the stillness, the quiet ache of conversations unspoken, of connections lost or never found. It's easy in those moments to think this is how the story ends, alone, unseen, unneeded. But what she doesn't yet understand is that what looks like the end is often only the beginning of something greater. That silence isn't a grave, it's a womb. That isolation isn't the end, it's the incubation of a destiny, too deep, too weighty, and too sacred to be rushed. In the natural world, birth never happens in the open. A seed begins in darkness, buried in soil. A child begins in silence, hidden in the womb. Growth happens in places where no eye can see. And so it is with the woman who finds herself alone, set apart, misunderstood. She is not forgotten. She is being formed. Every tear she cries is watering the soil of her future. Every silent night is preparing her for a louder purpose. What she thinks is delay is actually divine timing. Destiny cannot be microwaved. It must be matured. It must be nurtured in the secret place, where character is shaped, where motives are purified, where the voice of God becomes louder than the noise of the world. Isolation has a purpose when it is placed in the hands of God. It becomes a place of holy formation, where the soul is strengthened not by applause, but by intimacy with the one who created her. There's something sacred about being hidden. It's where masks fall off and truth rises. It's where God peels away everything superficial and reveals the core of who you are. He does not need crowds to confirm what he's doing in you. He doesn't wait for the approval of people to prepare a woman for a calling. In fact, he often removes the distractions so he can have your full attention, not because he wants to isolate you in cruelty, but because he wants to awaken you to your calling. You are not being punished. You are being prepared, and that preparation is not glamorous. It's lonely, it's quiet. It can feel thankless, but heaven watches. Heaven keeps record. Heaven does not miss a moment of your private faithfulness. While no one else sees the prayers, the inner battles, the sacrifices, you can be sure God does, and he wastes nothing, not a season, not a sigh, not a sleepless night. A woman who has been alone with God is dangerous to the enemy. She is no longer easily swayed by flattery. She is not desperate for validation. She has roots that go down deep into the soil of truth. She carries authority that comes from intimacy. She walks with power that does not need to shout. She is anchored because she has learned to hear the voice of her Creator in the silence of her solitude. Destiny is not just about platforms and influence. It's about transformation. And transformation takes time. You cannot pour oil into a vessel with cracks. God uses the quiet places to seal those cracks, to heal the wounds, to rebuild the broken pieces, so that when he pours into you, nothing leaks. So that when you're sent out, you're not operating out of need, but out of overflow. This is not a wasted season. It's a womb season. You are carrying something eternal. The dreams in your heart, the passion in your soul, the fire in your bones, they are not random. They are seeds, and seeds must go underground before they rise. They must die to what they were to become what they were destined to be. And when the time is right, nothing and no one will be able to stop the bloom. Do not despise the silence. Do not resent the stillness. What feels like a pause is actually a plan. What feels like loneliness may be the holy solitude required for God to whisper your true name, to ignite your true mission. He is not finished with you. He is only beginning. When the world sees you again, they may not recognize you. They won't see the silent nights, the inner stretching, the private wrestling, but they'll see the strength, they'll see the authority, they'll see the grace, and they'll wonder how you got it. But you'll know. You'll remember the incubation. You remember how it felt to sit with unanswered prayers and still believe. You'll remember the ache and the awakening. You'll remember how you had no one but him and found that he was more than enough. Her isolation isn't the end of her story. It's the sacred beginning of something heaven breathed, world shaking and history marking. It's the chapter the world skips over but heaven highlights in gold. It's the quiet before the roar, the stillness before the shift, the seed before the harvest. And when she rises from that season, she won't just carry a title. She will carry fire. She will carry healing. She will carry authority forged in the secret place. And every step she takes will echo with purpose, because her destiny wasn't born in crowds. It was born in silence. It was born in God's presence. It was born when no one saw her, but heaven did. So if you find yourself alone today, don't despair. Lift your head. You are not buried. You are planted, and your story is far from over. In fact, it's only just begun. Maybe that woman is you. Maybe you've been praying for someone to see you, to call you, to include you. And maybe, just maybe, God allowed the silence, so you could finally hear him say, "You don't need them when you have me. You're not unwanted. You're anointed. You're not invisible. You are chosen. You're not friendless. You are forever held by the friend who never fails." So let the world look away, because heaven just turned its eyes on you.